Oh, yes. Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration. You need only unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract.
Do you remember what movie or game made you realize that fear produced by the horror genre was entertaining? For some, it may never come, but for others, like myself, one day it just tips and you can't get enough. You've got the crowd in love with the cheesy slasher flicks, the ghost stories, every which style of possession movie. But for fans of From Software's 2015 cult hit Bloodborne, it's safe to say they like a little more cosmic insanity with their eggs in the morning. From Software hit the video game scene running with the first 3 entries in their Kingsfield franchise, hitting annually from 1994 to 1996. However, they found mainstream success with their mecha-based Armored Core in 1997. While the game initially received decent reviews, the fan base around the game was strong enough to validate the release of 13 entries before they released the game that would go on to spawn an entire genre. It was in 2009 that they released the first of 4 Souls games, with Demon Souls winning the hearts of PS3 owners brave enough to try it out. But it wasn't until Dark Souls in 2011 and Dark Souls 2 in 2014 that we started to see games draw direct influence. The interesting thing to note here, though, is that while Dark Souls 2 released to very good reviews, it was its little brother's spin-off title, Bloodborne, that really turned heads. Bloodborne released the very next year in 2015, and had it not been for such a crowded year of games, probably would have earned its fair share of Game of the Year awards. The problem was, it found its home on store shelves in the same year as CD Projekt Red's mega hit, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Bethesda's outrageously anticipated Fallout 4, and Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear magnum opus, The Phantom Pain. The 2015 tide may have actually fared better for Bloodborne had it been the 3rd, 4th, or 5th entry in its franchise, but sadly it was a new IP going up against the year's juggernauts, so it faded away with a small pop, never to be heard of again. Okay, you didn't actually buy that, did you? While Bloodborne didn't receive the mainstream outlet acclaim it deserved, its perfect blend of unrelenting combat and spooky lore lived rent-free in the minds of its players. For every Game of the Year award it didn't win, hundreds of thousands of fans got together to gush over what they had seen the night before. Now, this isn't to say that it didn't win any Game of the Year awards. It was crowned the Golden Joystick's PlayStation Game of the Year, as well as winning Game of the Year from popular sites like Eurogamer and Destructoid. But I bring up the Game of the Year discussion this heavily because it's the perfect lens to view Bloodborne's impact through. Much like Fallout New Vegas, Bloodborne was a game that was noticed for its fan reception, but largely ignored past that. Nomination after nomination came, but mainstream outlets were too busy debating Fallout 4 versus Witcher 3 versus Metal Gear Solid 5 to notice that the game truly destined to live rent-free in everyone's heads was the one that had already been shoved to the side. And people still remember those 3 games fondly. Hell, Witcher 3 is widely regarded as the best RPG of all time, and Fallout 4 is a Fallout title. But every single year since 2015, Bloodborne has found its way back into the collective mindshare, which surprises me just as much as everyone else because this game is bat crazy and very challenging. In fact, Bloodborne is one of the most challenging games I've ever played. Not most difficult, just challenging. Challenging because it rewards you for being patient, it rewards you for not getting greedy, but most of all it rewards you for staying the aggressor as opposed to playing from your back foot. If Dark Souls is all about the board, Bloodborne is all about the sword. You earn health back if you strike your opponent shortly after they strike you. You're given a gun for parrying as opposed to a shield. You have 20 healing items at your disposal from the start, unlike the upgradable Estus Flask in Dark Souls. But you also have to manage your stock of those blood vials, whereas the Estus Flask completely replenishes its charges at every bonfire. Bloodborne is most similar to its Souls brethren through the doling out of the story and item descriptions and unsettling cutscenes. However, and please remember this opinion is my own, all of the Dark Souls stories and greater lore at play absolutely pale in comparison to Bloodborne. You see, when making a series about amassing the perfect video game library, you have to remember that not every game is for every gamer. While I consider Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 some of the most brilliant games in modern history, I can't suggest them to everyone because partnered with the difficulty threshold is a lack of a clear narrative. This is embraced by fans, but not by all. For fans, you get eerie exposition for the characters and enemies you come across, but for the average gamer, they have no idea what on earth is going on or why you're there doing it. Now, I'm not saying Bloodborne breaks this trend. I'm saying that the world of Bloodborne, with its healing churches, hunters, and great ones, is so intoxicating that most players will be drawn to every bit of lore and information they can get their hands on. And that's not even counting the character-driven side quests of men turned beast by the city's blood administration and scholars attempting to reach a higher plane of existence. And as if the lore isn't enough to keep you enthralled, the game sports more biomes than a full series of games. From Victorian cobblestone streets to poisonous woods and every bloody church, muddy dungeon, and ethereal plane in between. You'll carve an axe through a crazed citizen of the hunt just as soon as an alien in Yosefka's clinic. I could, and probably should, write an entire thesis on the world in which Bloodborne takes place, but for now, I'll leave that to the more talented. Staying with the trend of the last episode, I have a suggestion for more videos that might tip the game in your favor. And even still, the game might be too hard for some, but it's just too fascinating a universe to not see in some form. So, search ViTiVidya on YouTube and glutton his entire suite of Bloodborne content. Everything from his series Prepare to Cry to his deep dive into character storylines. You won't regret it. And of course, past that, play, or at the very least watch someone else play this game. There's no shame in admitting the game is a bit too hard for you while still feeling that curious twinge of imagination. Bloodborne is unlike any universe you have ever seen. But before you do that, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, or head over to positivedistortion.com.